So, oh my goodness, my name's Cristol O'Loughlin from Angel Aid, and we're doing our very first Rare Mothers Roundtable. And I am just thrilled. It's Thursday, August 5th, 2021, and we get an opportunity to talk with a rare mother who has been sharing her experience and her perspective with our community for, gosh, about the last 2 months. We've been involved in Voice of the Rare Carrier workshop, and Kelsey Ross is our featured rare mother for the Rare Mother Roundtable today. Hi, Kelsey.
Hi, how are you guys doing today?
Oh, we're good. We're good. We've got also Paige Rogers, our community manager, who works really closely with our community of rare mothers. And thank you just in advance to Paige for orchestrating this conversation. And I've been peeking in on our Voice of the Rare Carriers workshop and seeing just the really rich conversations that have been happening there. Before we get into any of that, though, I would love it, Kelsey, if you could just give us a sense, like where are you joining us from today? What's your story?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So I am in Washington State. I am a carrier of Ritscher Schinzel Syndrome, or 3C. We'll leave it as that because it's a little bit easier. And I have a 5.5-year-old daughter named Blake, and she has the condition. And I have had three other daughters with the condition who are no longer with us. And it's been a wild, wild ride.
Loving in life and loving in moonshine, sunshine, and every other spiritual realm that we honor on the planet. What a journey you've had so far.
I say they're my little girls who dance among the stars. That's what I say about them. So
Oh my gosh. That's the thing. Is immediately, right, in the first 5 minutes of this conversation, you realize, wow, this woman has had an experience unlike any other. How does that make you feel? Do you feel connected on the planet or isolated on the planet? What is your
well, there's a little bit of both. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of existing on my own little island alone. I guess until I interact with other people who have been through it, who have, who have a child that has a disorder and who have who have experienced loss. Like I feel like immensely connected to those people, but it can feel isolating, in the real world. But I do feel like I have connection, I guess, off of this planet as well. And I do feel connected to my daughters, even though they are not here on Earth. So
yeah, oh
I have a
gosh.
lot of love for them. I love all of my little girls very much.
I talk a lot about conversations that I have in the hot tub with my brothers. You know, my three older brothers passed from a rare disease, and I envision them as the constellation Orion that has the three stars for the sword. You know, and anytime I need some strength, need to draw on that strength or inspiration, I can reach out and talk. So those are tools,
They are.
right? That's how we cope with this harsh reality. So, what was the moment where you knew that this very ultra rare 50 individuals on the planet, I think you mentioned, what was the moment that you knew that this was coming into your life?
I was kind of naive. I was really, really young when I had my daughter. And when we were given her diagnosis around the time she was 2 years old, it hit me like, we are carriers. This is more than I thought it was. It doesn't just stop with her. We're rare people. We're dealing with a situation that is like 1 in 100 something million for my husband and I to meet up and both have these same issues with our genetics. It it was a lot to take in. It was a very bittersweet moment because I got my daughter's diagnosis, but then our whole world changed right at that second.
And who did you turn to?
Well, for me, I couldn't really find anyone originally. It was very, very hard. The people within the community for this syndrome, they were not very connected. There was no groups where anyone would talk, and it was hard because I wanted to speak to these other families so much, but they were dealing with stigmatism of their own issues because uh, just for various reasons. And so nobody was connecting. So I created my own group originally. Well, I had done that prior, and that I kind of stayed with them. It was an undiagnosed genetic disease group. And that's what I had started prior to it. And that's kind of still where I had fit because we it was so rare, and that was like the only place to talk to really, really rare parents where you didn't have a lot of information about what the future would look like. And that is where I stayed. And I eventually found a group called Genetic Carriers Pregnancies, and I now help run that group with a few of my girlfriends, and that has been the place where I have felt most connected, having a daughter with the condition, but also having a risk of having more children with the condition as well. Something that just doesn't stop with one child, or, so that's been nice.
Isn't that interesting? I'm listening to you, and first of all, thank you um, for giving back to this community and standing up and stepping forward and being vulnerable and working with other parents that may, need the support, especially in the undiagnosed area, right? I mean, it's like your maternal instincts are all firing that things are not quite right with your child, and you're just on, it's like the proverbial overused term, but reality, this diagnostic odyssey, trying to figure out what's going on. Um, in that sense, how do you help your undiagnosed community cope with that feeling of not having answers?
Well, we just try and relate and share our stories and how we have felt. Although my daughter has a diagnosis, she's technically not diagnosed because my mutation that's from me has never been seen before. And so I'm still dealing with that. I've had 4 affected children, and we still don't have an official diagnosis even with that. Like, the lab hasn't recognized it, or science hasn't recognized it as a pathogenic or disease causing variant. And so we just do a lot of relating. I have created a database within the group to add people's variants of unknown significance. So those are their mutations that science doesn't know whether it is disease causing or not. And we put those in. Basically, for the gene, we can add the specific mutation, and we add the symptoms. And that is how one of the ways we've connected other families. But we just do a lot of talking about how hard this is. How, it's easier for us now because we know what my children have, but it is a hard space to be. There's a lot of darkness there when you don't know what's going on with your child, and you, there's some guilt there because you wonder in the back of your mind, like, did I do this to my kid? And there's just a lot of pieces aside from just having a special needs child, or a child with high medical needs. There's things that you wouldn't think about within the undiagnosed realm, and it's nice to talk to other people about those things.
Absolutely. I talk a lot about connection is the act of compassion,
Yeah.
right? That nobody can understand more than another family or mother or caregiver that's been going through this experience. It's not something you can educate for how to handle it because there's so many different variables, right? So it's really just coming
There's no
together, and
handbook.
there's no handbook for any of this. Yeah, there isn't, and there's an entire industry, the pharmaceutical biotechnology and research and science industry and all that advocacy that supports those efforts that are built on hope,
Yeah.
right? They're built on the future and this idea that we will treat and cure these diseases. And I do think that in our lifetime, we're going to start seeing not just more treatments, but cures for many of these diseases. I think the science is just, it's like aggregating, right? But it's like anything else. I mean, there's a flip side to hope. There's a yin and a yang, right? The flip side to hope is despair.
Yeah.
And we don't have a lot of support structures for that reality, for that side of things.
Yeah, connecting with people is just the best medicine while, going through something like this. It's other people's stories, other people's, you can learn a lot. There's a lot of education there, but it also makes you feel more connected and it brings you hope. And it's nice to have other people who have been ahead of you lighting the path to your journey ahead. So
Yeah,
that's what your
absolutely.
mom has done for me in so many ways. Like just
Oh,
hearing her, I see so there's so many parallels and it's amazing. I don't know.
thank you for saying that, Kelsey. Well, if there's individuals watching, my mother Phyllis is 77. She had five children. I'm the youngest of the five, and three of her four boys had MPS disease, mucopolysaccharidosis, and they passed away at 12, 18, and 19 years old. So these are decades long journeys. And I think that's kind of the other sort of piece of this is we've got a lot of bereaved parents in our community, and there's almost this assumption or idea that once your child is passed, your journey ends. And that's just, these are lifelong, forever changed experiences. And being able to share them with young mothers like yourself, I know is really meaningful to my mother. She feels like she can give back some of her perspective.
I'm thankful for her wisdom and I'm thankful to hear her stories. It's been what she has been through and what you guys have been through as a family breaks my heart. And I feel a lot of the things that I think she has felt. And it's just, it is, has been so nice to connect with her and just feel less alone.
Well, tell me what your day-to-day life is like. What's a day in the life of Kelsey?
Well, my day changes every single day. I'm married to a firefighter and I have a little wild child, so it's always changing. But we try and have fun at the house. I try and play a lot with my little girl. She is like my entire world. I don't work. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my main thing is taking care of Blake. And we have a lot of therapy. My daughter goes to therapy quite often. We live quite rurally, so we have to drive about 45 minutes each way to each therapy appointment. There are doctor's appointments for both her and myself because of her having the condition and then me being a carrier of it. And then we spend a lot of time out in nature. That has been the piece for both my daughter and myself. She loves it, I love it, and that we try and get out. So that those are the main things we do. Just a lot of normal mom stuff. But my daughter's a wild one. She's a little tornado of a person and she likes to break stuff. So I'm constantly chasing her around, picking up after her more than most people would probably have to clean their house. And yeah, just a lot of that sort of stuff. But everything in our life, even the normal stuff, it requires a lot of planning. Um, if it's simple, it doesn't really matter. It's complicated. So everything requires effort. Everything requires a lot of planning, and but we make it work, and we have a lot of fun too.
Sounds like it. I'm so glad that she's mobile, and that she's moving. Sounds like moving and breaking things, but moving. And
Yes,
that's
I'm thankful for that. That's not the case with a lot of people with this condition. She's quite healthy. She's a very healthy little girl, and I'm beyond thankful for it, but it is hard. She is like a mobile, fast, strong 1-year-old, and it is hard.
right, right,
She's a
incredible. And
handful.
she's a handful. And you had to make some choices with
Yeah.
your other daughters. Talk to us about that if you're willing, if you're open.
Well, I just won't read the comments, but yes, I have had to terminate 3 pregnancies. I wanted my little girls very, very much, but I don't think life would have been very possible if I would have had all 4 of my children. It is very, very hard having my daughter Blake. I love her more than anything in the world, but it is hard. I think it's having raising a child is incredibly hard, but I think some of the things that we go through as a family are just immensely harder because of the situation. My daughter doesn't understand language, she doesn't speak. So it's tough, and she doesn't have a lot of the medical problems that a lot of people do with the condition, but my other 3 daughters did. There were things going wrong with their bodies from 12 weeks on that we could see, just I could see as not a professional with I didn't have a trained eye, and I could see all the things going on with my children, and it's been really, really hard. I I wish that they were here. But I don't think I could have given them the life that they deserved, and I think it would have taken away from what I provide my daughter Blake as well. I don't think it would have been the right thing for any of us, and it's been a tough, tough decision. They have been tough, tough decisions to make because I love all of my children immensely, but it's what we've had to decide with our circumstances.
Right. And these are the choices in life that you never want to have to face. And your partner, your husband, is with you as you're making these decisions. Talk about his point of view. How has he
Well,
been a source of strength for you?
Well, my husband and I, we've been together since we were 12 and 13 years old. So we've been together since we were children. It's been 14 years together, and we're still very, very young. We never thought we would have to make any of these decisions because we love each other. We wanted children. That was our discussion from day one. We were talking about kids far before we should have been talking about children, and it it has been hard on him. I think it's been harder on me as a mother because I have been the one carrying and holding and feeling my babies move and growing with them, but I know it affects him immensely. He's also, I mean, like I said, he's a firefighter, so he deals with trauma all of the time, and it's it's been hard on all of us. I think he has been amazing though. He has been so supportive of what I want to do moving forward. He's been supportive of my wants of having children, of having a family, and I'm so thankful for him. I don't think I could have went through this with anyone else because this sort of thing could break relationships. It could break families, but we have come together closer through our loss.
That's so inspiring, Kelsey. Thank you for sharing that because that's also, in the world of health and wellness, you want to come into a space knowing that there's no judgment, right? And And that's what we try to create at Angel Aid, is an environment where there's no judgment. It's an individualized experience, but it's an easing of the burden if we can share it. And
Yeah.
that's what we're so grateful that you're doing. Now, you mentioned, tell me your husband's name again.
His name is Brandon.
Brandon. Okay, you mentioned that Brandon's supportive of the work that you do. So talk about that. What does advocacy mean to you? What does running these support groups mean to you? What do you hope to give back to the community?
Well, honestly, like I said prior, it can feel like a really lonely world. You can feel like you're on this island alone, kind of floating in a dark abyss sometimes. And advocacy to me is support. It can be various forms of support, and I enjoy connecting with other parents. It does a lot for my heart, and and people who are non-parents as well. Like, it does a lot for me, and it's amazing to help others to help them understand what options they have, maybe light the path a little bit for them, like people have done for me. It it's beautiful to just to educate people. I enjoy, I mean, people within our community and people outside of it, because educating people who are outside of your community helps our communities as well. Like, people don't, in the general normal world, don't understand these things or even know about them, and it's not their fault. And the best way to make it better is to talk about it, is to tell your story and to explain it. So that it's it's been very helpful for myself to connect with other moms. I enjoy it. It's wonderful and fun, but it I just I want to spread awareness about these issues, because that's the only way to move forward. People need to know.
Yes, they do. And that's why we're talking today, right? Right. So, um, you talked about connecting within the community, and the relief that comes there. Uh, what about those moments when you're sort of alone with your feelings? You're alone with, the reality of what is happening with your daughter. Talk about how you handle those
Well,
moments.
it can be hard, it can be dark. There's the moment thoughts play in my head all day long, to be honest, with the things that are difficult in our lives, raising our daughter, and the losses we've experienced, and just all of the circumstances we have. And it can be tough, but for me, I like to go back to the positive side of all of it, because it's not all dark. There is light that exists within all of this, a lot of light. And first, I have 4 daughters. That's pretty amazing, and I'm pretty thankful for that. And, you know, I I'm so thankful for the people that I've met. I know people, I have friends all around the world that I am so thankful to know. And I have learned so much about these topics that I never ever thought I would have. I've become an expert on these things, and it's amazing. It's amazing, the experiences that I've had. I'm so thankful to be here, to be a part of the workshop that we did over the last couple of months. I will be on a podcast here soon for terminations for medical reasons, that is out of the UK. I feel really, really blessed with these experiences. I wouldn't have chose any of this myself if I would have known, but there are amazing things here. And I have this amazing little girl named Blake, and she makes my life so much better. You know, she has changed my perspective on life so much, and have realized what's important and what's not. And she makes me so much better. And she's an incredible person, and I am thankful to know people that, have special needs. I didn't know anybody with special needs or genetic conditions or anything like this growing up. I had no clue. I had never interacted with somebody that was not neurotypical, and I I have been introduced to this whole new world that is spectacular, and met people like my daughter who are so special. And it's amazing. I would have never had these experiences without my daughter or my daughters. And there's so much bright light in all of this. And I'm thankful to be able to have a voice to help other people. And I don't know. It's just there's incredible parts to this. So
Yeah, yeah, and your gratitude and your, I mean, gratitude can be a tool, right? A mental health tool. It is a find a moment and hone in on that in your everyday life, so that you can survive even the most difficult and the darkest of times. So you're obviously shining bright, with that tool. Well, one last question. What would you tell another rare mother, either newly aware of what is happening in her child's life? What would your message be for somebody that's just starting into this journey?
well, first it would be to educate yourself,
Mm.
educate yourself on everything that's going on so you can advocate for yourself, for your child, because you're going to become the expert on what is going on. You are going to be that person. Like so many people, doctors, therapists are not going to
Mm.
understand these things, and you're going to have to be that person that really advocates for your child and for yourself. um, I would also say find community, find others that understand what you're going through so you don't feel so alone. You're not going to find people in your day to day that are going through the same thing as you. And finding other people out in the community or out in the world, I would say in the social media community, that would be a great place to start. You don't want to feel alone, because you're not. Just because you don't see the people in the world going through this doesn't mean they don't exist. So find them, ha- ask questions so that you have your path ahead lit a little bit for you, so you feel like you can make it through. Because having a rare child isn't the end of you. It's it's a hard thing, but there are a lot of wonderful moments too. So.
Absolutely. So how, if a mother or a family is wanting to connect with the undiagnosed group, how do they find you? What is the name of that group?
So you'll find us on Facebook. It's parents of children with the rare, with an undiagnosed genetic disorder. Not rare, take that out of there. But and yeah, you'll just find us on Facebook, answer the questions, and I'll let you in. And you
Okay.
can talk to me anytime. So, and the same thing with the genetic carrier group. It's genetic carrier pregnancies. Um, on Facebook, answer the questions. We only let genetic carriers in, but um, yeah, we'd love to have you in either group. So,
Fantastic, Kelsey. Well, I have the feeling that we're going to be seeing more of you, I hope, in our Angel Aid community of rare mothers, in addition to Kelsey's groups for genetic carriers and undiagnosed families. You can find Angel Aid Cares on Facebook. Angelaidcares.org will take you to all of our workshops and events that we have coming up. We have weekly support groups that Paige is running. Paige, you want to tell them about what groups we have coming up right now?
Sure. So We will be hosting this Rare Mothers Roundtable Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time every week, and hopefully having really meaningful conversations like this one. Thank you, Kelsey, for kicking us off. And these workshops are open if you want to come and join the discussion, or they're available afterwards recorded. And then Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, we have Rare Mothers and Relationship with Padma Gordon, and we are just talking about how to be a rare mother in relationship with yourself, with your partner, with friends, other family members, children, medical professionals, just relationship as an umbrella term. What does that mean, and how is your experience as a rare mother work inside of that relationship? And it's really great. We have really deep, meaningful discussions. So, and then our next Rare Mother meetup is August 11th at 6 p.m. Pacific. And that is just another opportunity to just meet up and chat with Rare Mothers. That's led by a member of our community. And it's a really wonderful time to just connect. And it's really, really chill, really relaxed. Come when you can, leave when you need to. Just a time to spend time with others.
That's fantastic. Thank you for giving that overview. And in between, when we're connecting live, we are in our community on Mighty Networks. So just go to angelacares.org and click join our community, and you'll receive the logins to come into the community. And a lot of times we hear from our caregivers and our rare mothers in particular. It's the middle of the night. The only time I have for me is when everybody's asleep, right? So we have a lot of conversations and activity, and um, rewatching of videos and posing questions into the community. We did make a decision to form our community off of Facebook so that we could have kind of a private environment just for rare mothers and rare caregivers, and offer our workshops through that experience. So we do have a private Facebook group, but most of the conversations happening in our Mighty Networks. So thank you so much, Kelsey. You've given so much. Any closing thoughts?
No, I just thank you for having me here. I really, really appreciate it. I hope, someone watching this connects to one of our groups. I hope it helps someone. And I also have to say, this is the first time I've ever said publicly what has happened with three of our children. So I am glad to have broken that barrier today. So thank you for having me do it.
Kelsey, I have to tell you, you have been so transparent and so open, and fear is a real barrier for so many of us, especially living in a medicalized life and with a constant chronic trauma and stress that we're experiencing. And you've been so vulnerable. And so I will just let you know that my husband and I made the same decision with our son. We made that decision even before we got married, and when we were faced with that choice, it was the most excruciating choice of my life. But for so many of the reasons that you talked about, um, we chose to love our son in heaven before we even got to meet him on the planet, and we're still very connected. We talk with my son often when I'm in the hot tub again. There seems to be a thread here, California hippy dippy. But yeah, you stepping up and standing out has inspired me to do the same. So thank you.
Thank, thank you for sharing. I'm sorry about the loss of your little boy. What was his name? If you,
Orion.
oh, Orion. That's
Yep,
beautiful.
he's all bound up with my brothers. So
My daughters are Aurora, Avani, and Rowan. And I appreciate you telling your story because it makes me feel less alone. And, you can be an advocate and have a special needs child and care for people that have disabilities and make that choice. And that has been a huge barrier for me to feel like, can I do that? But you can make those choices, and you can be an advocate with all of your heart. So
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. In sisterhood, I'm sending you my love, my strength, my energy. I'm saying thank you to you and thank you to Paige, and just really have a wonderful rest of your day, and know that this conversation will live on in perpetuity on our Angel Aid channel. So thank you.
well, thank you guys for having me. It was nice to meet you, Crystal and Paige. It was great to see you as always. So thank you.
We'll see
Tell
you
your mom hi
again.
for me for
I
sure.
will. I will.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.